Hello, everybody, and welcome to our fifth module on Infusionsoft Basics. And today is all about campaigns. A couple of things. Campaigns can be a little overwhelming. And so, what I really suggest is just kind of dive in and start small and build upon knowledge. So, we're just going to do really intro to campaign builder. Today, we are actually going to deep dive it a lot more in the advanced course. So, stay tuned for that. And let's go ahead and get started. We're going to jump right into the intro to campaign builder. I'm going to show you how to create a simple campaign using opt-in forms and web forms, and then we'll do our homework. So if you've been into if you haven't been into the campaign builder for a while, they've actually changed it and updated it. They took some of the tools away. They combined some of the tools into one. So if it's been a while since you've actually looked at the campaign builder, it may look a little bit different to you because, as always, technology keeps evolving. And so they've made some changes to the campaign builder. But basically, what is a campaign? And a campaign is a comprehensive marketing and sales strategy for a specific audience. So a specific audience would be people that are prospects. In other words, people that you'd like to become clients. Another audience might be existing clients, people who have bought from you before. Or maybe the audience is some people you met at a networking event. So it's a specific audience. And really what campaigns are designed to do is to work with a sales or what's called a sales or marketing funnel. And a sales and marketing funnel is basically how you bring prospective clients into your marketing strategy, right? So when somebody signs up for something, what's the next thing you want to do? So basically a funnel is taking them from your lowest priced offerings all the way up to your highest priced offerings. For virtual assistants, we have a very simple sales funnel. And a sales funnel for us is really networking or marketing to get ourselves out there and to talking to people. And really, we only have one thing that we truly offer. Now, this may not be for everybody. Some people may have multiple income streams, but for most VAs, we offer services, right? Whether the services are packaged or the services are hourly. So for us, our sales funnel is very simple. For our clients, maybe a different story because they may have multiple products at multiple levels. For instance, my business now, the Techie Mentor, has a different sales funnel than I had as a VA because I have different products and services. And basically what a sales funnel is to do is to take people from, starting them off, getting an introduction to you with something free. And those are called several different things. They call it a freebie, a lead magnet, an ethical bribe. I mean, they're called all these other things. Personally, I don't like the word ethical bribe. It just sounds, I don't know, slimy to me. So I like freebie. And that's really how to get people to understand who you are and what you're all about. Even VAs should have a freebie of some sort. Once somebody signs up for a freebie, then the next step in your funnel would be to, have a conversation to see if it's an ideal fit for you and your potential client. So that's a pretty simple sales funnel. For others, they have the free offer. Then it would go into a lower price program, which would lead to a higher price program, and so on. So you can see that the funnel gets. Think of just a regular old funnel in your mind. As a funnel gets tighter towards the bottom, the prices get higher. So that's sales funnels 101, okay? And basically campaigns work with that. And it's taking that audience through a series of steps to get them to sign up for something, to get them to purchase something. And every audience is a little different. And so each campaign needs to have a goal. So my point to this is there's planning involved with campaigns. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to put together a campaign. No, there's a strategy, there's a plan. What do you want the campaign to do? Who is it for? What are you trying to get them to do? In other words, what's the outcome of the campaign? Is it get them to purchase or to sign up for something, to give you a call? What is that? So when you're working with clients and campaigns, they need to also understand that there is marketing and planning and strategy involved in creating a campaign. Okay, and so a campaign has goals that take specific actions, known as what's called a sequence. So we looked at sequences earlier. We'll be going into more sequences in advanced, but we're going to just stick with some simple ones here. What is the campaign builder? The campaign builder is what we call a drag and drop interface. So basically you have icons and you drag and drop them to create your campaign. And your campaigns can be very simple or very complex. And like I said, we're sticking with simplicity this time around. Each campaign has a strategy. to understand how they, what's the overall goal and how do you get them to take action to achieve that goal. Maybe it's something as simple as clicking on a link, or maybe it's something as simple as signing up using a web form. Okay. When the goal is reached, a specific action happens. Okay, so it's similar to an autoresponder. So don't let this overwhelm you, because I know it might be a little bit of or a lot of information. But basically, what a sequence and what a campaign really does is it takes all the different pieces of a lot of email marketing tools and puts them together into one big tool. Originally, many, many years ago, when I first started using and working in Infusionsoft, they had a campaign, which is nothing like it is today. And basically, a campaign makes up a lot of the legacy features like web forms, right? Order forms. All of those can be actually combined into a campaign to actually walk people through a series of steps to get them to take the actions that you want. Okay. So what actions can you take? So for instance, let's say that we want somebody to sign up for a free webinar that we're doing. Like I said, we're just going to keep it very simple, right? Okay, so what do we want them to do? Well, we want them to sign up for a free webinar, okay, which means we're going to have to create an opt-in form, right, in order for them to plug in their information. And then once they plug in their information, we're going to want to apply some tags to that, so we'll be able to identify the people that have signed up for the webinar so we can communicate with them. So that would be our specific audience, right? And then maybe I want to send them an email that says, welcome and thank you for signing up. Here's the information for you. And then after the webinar, maybe I want to send a follow-up email that says, thank you for participating. Here's additional information, or here's where you can purchase, whatever I offered on the webinar. Okay, so you can apply a tag, you can complete a purchase, fill out a form. So an opt-in form, web form, right? You can send an email, you can create a task, you can create an opportunity. So all of the different things that you can do in Infusionsoft, for the most, you can add to a campaign and basically put it in sequence. So think of almost like, it's almost like a flow chart is basically what a campaign is, right? You have an entry point and then it flows through the campaign to achieve said goal. So have a plan. Work with your clients to have a plan. So for instance, you can ask yourself or your clients, what's the goal or purpose of your campaign? Is it to get them to buy something, to sign up for something, click on a link, call you? Um, there's all different things that you can do. It all depends on the business. It all depends on what you're looking for from this specific campaign. How are you marketing your campaign? Where is that traffic coming from? Now, in earlier versions of Infusionsoft, they had what are called web sources or traffic sources. They don't have those anymore because those were just standalone little icons. They've removed those, so there was some confusion there. But basically, it's just to allow you to understand where the traffic is coming from, because traffic comes from a number of different places. And, as I tell people, watch your numbers so you know where your traffic is coming from. Maybe it's a Facebook ad, maybe it's a local event, so on and so forth. What's the entry point? So there's that starting point to the campaign. What is it? Is it a phone call? Do they want them to call you? Do you call them? Do they fill out a form? Do they purchase something? Do they click a link? And the list goes on and on. So you really need to understand your client's business and how people get into their funnel, and then where do they go from there? How do you drive them to the next logical step? All right, so what type of action is needed to move to the next step to achieve whatever the goal is you set for the campaign? So remember, campaigns have goals. Okay, what's the goal? They also have sequences. In other words, those are the steps to achieve the goal. Okay, and there can be one step or there can be multiple. We're going to keep it simple, as I mentioned. So our goal is just to capture contact information, and I'm actually going to change this on the fly where it says sell products and services. I'm actually going to say we just want them to sign up. So because I want to keep it simple. We want them to fill out a web form, and then we want to send them the information about said webinar. So I will update this slide. Okay, so I tweaked the slide a little bit. So our goal is to sign up for a free webinar. So have them make that first step into getting into our funnel. How? We're going to have them fill out a web form that's put on our website. What actions are we going to have them take? Well, we're going to have them complete the form. We're going to apply a tag, and then we're going to send out an email. So the first action is to have them sign up. Our actions then, which we can have the campaign builder do, is once the web form is completed, we can have the campaign apply a tag and send out a broadcast email. And just with any broadcast, you can have it sent out immediately. You can have it sent out on a specific date and time, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to keep it simple, as I mentioned. And before you actually jump in, really have that plan in place, okay? Excuse me, I've created a very simple homework lesson for you to also work through as part of this campaign builder to really get your feet in there. And then feel free to experiment however you like. So we're going to come back to this slide here in just a minute. I'm going to bounce over to my my sandbox. And I actually have campaign builder on my nav bar. You can also get to it under marketing. So however you want to get there is fine. You can see I have lots of campaigns. I'm actually cleaning up some of these. So if you, by the way, if you're done with the campaign, I'd ask you to remove it if you've, gotten the hang of it. And basically this is what you can do. I'm going to show you real quick. You can just click this top checkbox and it will unclick everything. You can choose whichever campaigns you're finished with. Go up to actions and unpublish and delete. So I'm just trying to clean this up a little bit and then hit process action. So when you're done, if you want to clean up after yourself, that would be great. And I'll go back to my campaigns. So it'll get rid of those. So I just cleaned it up a little bit. And I know I might want to go through and clean up a little bit more. And I know people are working in here. And I ask if you're working in the sandbox, actually put a name on yours, because the untitled campaigns that I have here, I'm probably going to get rid of those because I'm not sure whose they are. So be sure to put a name on yours so I know that somebody's using it, okay? And if you're done, I just kind of showed you how to remove those. Okay, so we're going to get started. First of all, this is the campaign builder. You can obviously view any campaigns by simply clicking on the campaign name. And it shows you the campaign. These guys right here, it says, these in green where it says Techie Mentor website, IVAA event, YouTube, these are the features that they've removed from the campaign builder. You'll notice that this screen looks quite a bit different than the earlier versions, which is fine. They've just really made it, in my opinion, simpler. But this is how you can actually look at a campaign. So I'm going to go back to my list here real quick. And we're going to create a new one. So we're going to click on create a campaign. And as I said, please actually name yours so I know that they're being used. Be descriptive so people will understand what the campaign is, especially if you've got multiple people who are using a specific Infusionsoft. It really helps to be specific. That way it's easy for clients to understand, and that would be obviously easy for anybody else that got in there to understand what a campaign is for. Okay, so you could actually use kind of the goal, if you will, the goal name to help you understand what that campaign is for. Okay, so here is a blank campaign builder, and you can drag and drop this, and I actually have to do it with my right mouse here. Oops. You can move the campaign around. Yeah, I don't have anything on here yet, but I'll show you. You can move the grid around. So a lot of campaigns get really long and really large, and so you need to move around to see the whole thing. Ours is going to be very simple. Across the top here, you can see the name is a free webinar. You do have what are called campaign templates now, which is something new that they've introduced. So I can click on Get Campaign Templates. And this is actually the marketplace. Now, some of these are free, some of these you have to pay for, but you can come in here and you can actually grab one of these, okay? I'm gonna come back to that because I wanna show you how to build one from scratch, but that's a kind of a shortcut. They've created the templates, you just have to fill in the blanks. Might be something fun for you to play with as well, just to kind of give you an idea of what else is out there if you wanna get a little more advanced. But we're going to start from scratch. So the first thing you have to do is set your goal, and you can just drag and drop these right onto the desktop, if you will. And you can have multiple goals. Remember, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to do one. So what's the goal name? And this is the goal. What I want them to do is I want signups for my free webinar. Okay, so very, very clear. What is the ultimate goal? What is the end result that you're looking for? To purchase something, to sign up for something, to get a phone call. That should be your goal name. And then how do they achieve the goal? In other words, how does the person get into your funnel in the first place? What is that first step? Okay, well, with this goal, a contact, and the contact is the person that you're contacting. A user would be yourself or anybody else using Infusionsoft. So that's the difference there. Well, here we go. Submits a web form, submits a landing page form, clicks a link, reaches a score. Scores have to do with lead source scores, which we talk about in advance, or they purchase a product. You can also work with users. You can actually create a user campaign, which are for people who use like referral partners that are part of your Infusionsoft. These are different things that they do that will obviously achieve a goal. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to say submits a web form. And this goal can be achieved by, and notice that this is gray. So depending on what you select here, under how the goal is achieved depends the options you get here. So these two are tied together, okay? I hit save, and there's my goal. Okay. Now, here's the kicker is once you set up the goal, you have to actually set up all the pieces. So notice here in the corner, I have a little picture of a web form. Well, my goal is achieved by what? By somebody submitting a web form, which means I need to set the web form up. So the goal that you create actually also creates the other pieces, if you will, of your campaign, right? So let me show you what I mean. So if I grab another goal, because remember I said you have more than one. So this time if I say it purchases a product, oops, got to put my goal in. Purchase coaching, okay? Okay, notice the difference. I just want to show you the difference. Do you notice how these look different? This one has a shopping cart on it, okay? This one has a web form on it. So each one of these goals, you can have multiple goals. Oops, I keep forgetting. Okay, notice how they all look a little different. Okay, so there's my web form, there's my purchase, there's my click a link, and so on. So they all look a little different. So I'm going to delete these. You can just click on the red X to get rid of them. Okay, so my point is that when you create the goal, it also creates the container, if you will, to achieve that goal. Right, so you could see that it gave me the ability to point to the product that somebody purchases, or allows me to create the email that I would put the link in that they could click to achieve the goal. So for this one, we're just doing a sign up, okay? And so anytime you create a goal, in order to finish out the goal, you need to double click on it. So when I double click on it, so double click is the answer, it takes you to whatever that next logical step. So again, in this instance, my goal is to sign up via a web form. So when I double click on the goal, it takes me to a web form. If my goal was to purchase a product, when I double clicked on that goal, it would take me over to my shopping cart so I could determine what I'm purchasing, so on and so forth. So I highly recommend that you play with the goals, double click on the goals so you can understand that's the beginning of the sequence and you have to fill in the blanks in order for the campaign to work. All right, this is a web form. Couple of things across the top here. You've got the ability to rename, you've got to copy, you can copy web forms from existing, so I can copy it from a legacy, I could copy it from a different campaign. I can also rename it. But basically, this is your web form that you've learned in an earlier session. It works the same way. You know, you've got all your formatting, you've got your layout and style over here, right? So I can just go in and pick one. Let's do this one. Oh, that's the one I already have. Let's do something a little different. How about this one? Okay. I was trying to find, there we go. Let's do one that has a little color in the background. How about, there we go. Woo, that's bright. Okay, let's do that one. All right, you can see I'm having fun playing. Then you would make sure that you wanted to add, whatever information. So mine just says first name and last name. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in here because we've already gone through web forms, but you could certainly do that. You've got your insert, your snippets, your field snippets. You've got everything there that you need, right? And I mean, for instance, if I want to make sure they understand. Remember, this web form goes on your website, okay, just like it normally does. So I could actually put in, my logo snippet. There we go. Okay, then I can do the thank you page. You can redirect to a thank you page. You can redirect to a web address, just like you normally do. So this is just like filling up or filling out a web form. Can't spell. The difference is that you don't get to this web form through the legacy menus. You get to this through the campaign. So anything that you create in a campaign is in that campaign. You can't get to it outside. It's not an individual, right? It's not just a web form. It's part of a campaign. And in order to update that web form, you'd have to go through the campaign builder to do that, okay? And I'm just going to make up one here, okay? Your settings. Okay, do you want to auto-populate? How do you want to check for duplicates? Do you want to have a notification when somebody fills this out? And then I can say, notification. Okay, oops, can't spell. Oops, still can't spell. Okay, then there's your code. So you would copy this code and you would put this code on your website. Okay, just like you would a regular form. Now, that's basically filling this out. Now, notice up here in the corner, You can test this as an individual. So I can say I want to test it. So it brings it up. There it is, right? So this is what it looks like on either a standalone, because you can do this as a standalone, or you could just have it to give people the web address and they could just fill it out, or they could actually go to your website. So you can do it a couple different ways. So submit. Now I know that that page it's going to try to redirect to is, hey, it worked. Send me to that page. Okay. So I can test it, and then you have it in either draft or ready. So just like your regular forms, you have draft or ready. Okay. And then I go back to my campaign. All right, so there it is. So anytime I want to edit this form, I would double click on it. Right? See, it takes me right back here, back to here. So that's step number one, right? Now, step number one was to have people sign up. So I didn't actually go and put that on a website, but you know how to do that as part of that whole web form builder we did. So that's the same. Now what I want to do is choose the next thing, which is the sequence. Okay, so this is a sequence, an action sequence. You drag and drop any of this stuff over here onto the canvas, right? And then what you do is you basically, just like you would be doing a flow chart, you're saying, okay, after they sign up, here's what I want you to do. I want you to send out a sequence. Okay, so what is the sequence? And you can title the sequence by double clicking on it. So I can say that the sequence here is apply a tag and send out broadcast. Send out thanks. Okay, now notice again, I have the ability to double click here. Now, when a goal is achieved, what happens to this sequence? Does the sequence stop or does it run until it's complete? So think about this. This could be the end. This is setting up the whole sequence of steps that Infusionsoft needs to take. So you could actually have a sequence at the beginning and a sequence at the end, right? To tell the campaign to stop running. It's done, it's completed, it's achieved its goal. In this instance, we want to run this sequence until the whole thing is complete. We want it to go all the way through. We don't want to just do one piece, we want to do the whole thing. So I'm going to save that. You can see the difference in the icon. Now I'm going to double click on it. And from here, it actually takes me to the sequences that we want to fill out. Now remember, these are the actions that we want done. When somebody signs up for our free webinar, we want to do what? We want to send an email, but we also want to apply a tag. So we're going to do a couple different things, okay? So this is the start button. And from here, I can choose the timers. Do you want to send it out immediately when somebody signs up? Do you want to send it out on a specific date, or you want to have it sent out based on a field that they fill in, right? So I can say, okay, I can drag this out and drop it. Remember, all of these drag and drop, and I can double click and it will show me when I can send it out. So I can wait at least 3 days before I send out this sequence. No. I want it to go out immediately, right? So I want it to wait a minute before it sends it out. And a minute is pretty much immediately. If you have a delay, then that's fine. But most of the time when somebody signs up for a free webinar, you want it to kick off your email immediately so they know that that they actually are reserved for the seat in the webinar. You can delay this, as you can see. You can choose minutes, days, hours, weeks, no delay at all, right? So no delay would also give it to you as immediate, but you could also do a 5-minute delay. Your choice. When does it run? Runs every day. So the delay timer, you can be very specific. And the reason that's important is what if you want to send an email after they've completed the webinar? Well, you'd want to delay it until after the webinar is completed, right? So maybe they sign up and you want to wait a week, or maybe you want to send it out on a specific date. If you want to send it on a specific date, you'd use the date timer. This one just allows you to delay it for a specific duration, not to a specific date. And then you can say, what time do you want it to go, at or between, right? I can tell it what time, right? And then I can save it. Okay, and it shows me when it's going to run. Okay, now we'll put on another one here in just a minute, but you can also see that I have communications. Okay, so what's it going to do? Well, it's going to send an email. Okay, I double click on the email, and guess what this takes me to? Right, I can go in here, I can name this. I have to name it from the other screen, but I can go in here and I can grab a template. Okay, I don't know if I have any. Let's see. I've cleaned up a lot of stuff in here. So we'll just say default broadcast, and I can use this. So you can go and pull. So this is just like sending a broadcast message, but you're using it as part of your sequence. So the biggest thing to remember is that everything you put in the sequence stays in the sequence. It's not outside, which means I can't go over and look for it in the broadcast list because it's not going to be there. It's only going to live in the campaign. So I would go in here and put all my information in. Once again, you have your layout and style. That hasn't changed, right? You can do your inserts. So I could go over here and put my logo in. There we go, right? And then from here, I can put in my subject. Now I'm just being, generic, but you get the idea. Congratulations, you have registered for the webinar. And here I could include I could put a link in here, so on and so forth. Okay, so you get the idea, right? Now, you also have the HTML and the plain text version. You can send both or one or the other. There's your spam score. Okay, and then up here at the top, once again, I could send a test to myself. So if I wanted to test it, which I always recommend that you test all of your broadcasts to make sure that they look the same and they look like you want. When you're using the sandbox, the broadcast feature doesn't work, so it wouldn't matter if you send yourself a test, but it's a good habit to get into. And then you go from your draft to ready, right? And then I can go back to my sequence. Now I can double click below it to rename it. So I could say this is the congrats email. Okay. Now it actually runs this, it sends this email out, and look, I can send a voice or a letter or a fax, and then there's my process. So my point is you kind of follow the flow that the campaign has given you. You start with your timers, then the communication, and then what process does it take on the back end? Well, like I said, I want to apply a tag. So I'm just dragging and dropping and I'm connecting. You remember you can delete any by clicking here. I double click. I can apply or remove a tag, so I can apply a tag. Let me see, do I have one for a webinar? I don't even know if I do. Oh, there we go. And save. And you can do multiple tags. And again, I can click down. Trying to click down here to let me change that. I can go in and I can apply another tag if I want. So maybe I'll put them on my MailChimp list, so on and so forth. So you get the idea. So you can do multiples. Whoops. So now it says 2 tags. Okay. The other process is you can apply a note, you can create a task, you can change a field, you can assign it to an owner and opportunity, you can send an HTTP post, you can do what's called an action set, which are legacies, which we go to in the advanced class, and then you can do notes. So you can actually drag a note out here and you could actually type something on here. Right? If you want somebody to have a little bit more about this, and you can drag and drop that. So that's really not part of the sequence. Right? Now I can do multiple things in here. So I could go and apply the tags, right? And then the next thing I could do, for instance, is I could do another communication. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, once that goes out, I'm going to do, and I'm going to drag and drop, or, I'm going to show that I want it to go together. Oops. I need to do this in a different order. All right, I'm not going to confuse the issue. I could also go in here and I could also create a note for somebody, right? I could apply a note to this. And the note, you can go in here and you can choose what kind of note. So we could say we want to call this person. Right? And I can notify a specific person. Again, change it to draft and I go back. So you can see all of this is working together. So this one I actually says attended the webinar, and then I could go in and I could send another email and I could do all that kind of stuff if I wanted, right? So then the email could go out. And just for fun, let's say this is a follow-up email. So I can go in here and change it out. So this is a whole sequence of things that most clients are going to do. If they have some type of event, they're going to send out the event information, then they're going to follow up. And then once again, I can go down here. Okay. Okay, now I've completed my sequence, if you will, of what happens when somebody completes my web form. Remember, the goal is for them to sign up. And once they sign up, then this is the next step that's taken. They're going to be sent a congrats email, 2 tags are going to be applied, and then a follow-up email will be sent after the fact. Now you have a draft versus a ready to go campaign. So you need to flip the switch here to go back. Okay, so now I only have, it's a very simple campaign, right? I have sign up for a free webinar, and then this applies a tag and sends out. So this actually holds all of the sequences that need to go in here, right? And then I can hit publish. It does a little thing. And then I can hit publish. That's something they've done that's new too as well. And in order to use it, you need to publish it. And the beauty of a campaign is it can show you where people are in your funnel or in the sequence of the campaign at any time. Now you can see right here, nobody's actually signed up right now. It can show that it's active, right? And this wonderful little tool will show you as people move through the funnel. This is one of the biggest reasons a lot of people use Infusionsoft for the campaign and the ability to watch how people move through their sales funnel and make adjustments as needed. So I'll go back to my list here real quick. And there it is. Now notice that it says publish. The ones that don't say publish, those are still in draft. Right? And then I don't know, let me see if I can find one here that may actually have some information in it so you can see the performance tab. Nope. Since again, this is a sandbox, I don't think we have a whole lot going in here. But basically, you want to set up a campaign. You want to know the goal, the plan, and the sequences. I'm going to create another one for you here real quick. We'll use one of those templates. So if you're like, okay, I'm really not quite sure exactly how to set this thing up, then go get a template. There are free ones, there are paid ones. So I can go in here and say, easy networking, build relationships and save time. So automatically follow up with new contacts. So I can say, all right, I want to install this one. There's all kinds of great ones that you can look at. So I can say, okay, right. And now back to my campaign. Okay. Now it actually put it in here called easy networking. So I want to click on it and look at this. It basically tells you what you need to do. Okay. It basically says, okay, anyone that is entered through this form will be tagged as a personal network. Here's, you double click on it. It'll show you the form and allow you to change it. So here it is. You can see that. You can go and do your thank you page, your settings, your code. But basically, it just gives you what you need to create. Isn't that fun? Right? And then you can publish it. So this tells you exactly what you need to do. This is something that's very helpful when you're just starting out. So I really recommend that you try some of these campaign templates. And I just published it real quick to see how it works. Okay? So back to the list. Sorry, I had my darn Skype on. Forgot to turn it off. My apologies. All right, so we're good there. Let me jump back over to PowerPoint. So again, campaign builder tips. Always have a plan. You can right click to move the canvas. You can double click to set it up. So those are called snippets. Draft snippets are black. Live or published snippets are green. So look at the little corner. If I jump back in there and I actually look at, oops, I didn't mean to jump on that one, sorry. Okay, so if we look at this easy networking one that we did, notice everything's green, right? Notice everything's green. If I go into one that's not published, considered draft, everything's black or gray. So you can tell the difference, okay? You can drag and drop the green arrow to create the sequence. A lot of times when you drag and drop the little snippets onto the desktop, the arrows will automatically connect them to show the sequence that they go, that they go through. Use those descriptive names, add notes if needed. You need to set up each and every sequence throughout to tell the system what it is they need to do. And you could see that example with the templates that you can put notes all over the place, especially if you're working with somebody else who's not really comfortable with campaigns. So just some of the terms, and I'm going to actually remove entry point because I don't use that anymore. But the canvas is where you actually build your campaign. The snippets would be the little things that you drag and drop onto the canvas. We talked about goals, your goal methods, the sequences and the notes. Entry point, they took away. so we don't worry about that anymore. Draft versus ready. Decision nodes, and some of these things we're going to get into a little bit more when we get into the advanced course, but you can do what's called a decision node, so you can make a decision on what direction they take depending on what action they choose. Your email confirmation, performance tab, web form. The email confirmation is something else we'll get into in the advanced course. And then I need the actual sequence features, which we saw were the timers, the communications, the process, and the notes. So your homework, I have a simple campaign for you in the library if you want to give that a try. And just one more thing I want to show you before I stop. So if I go back here to my free webinar, if you're using a double opt-in, this is what the email confirmation does. I just want to show you this. Email confirmation allows them to do their email. They're doing a double opt-in. So this is where you would go in and create your confirmation email. There's probably one already in here, right? But you would need to go in and make sure. So I'm showing you this real quick because if you want to do a double opt-in, you're going to have to make sure that you're using the email confirmation piece. Notice one's green and one's not. Oops. Oh, okay, so that's the confirmation email. Okay, so if I publish this, and I didn't put it in a sequence, but you can see that these are not connected to anything. These would actually need to go in a sequence somewhere in order for them to be part, right? So I could actually make that part of my sequence. Okay, yeah, I know. I didn't do my confirmation email here, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of what those do, okay? So jumping back over here, take a look at the downloads to get a sample plan. And if you have any questions, please holler. And my best advice to you is build one from scratch and then play with some of those free templates and really dive into those and get a really good idea of how they work. So we took a moment, went through Campaign Builder, creating a simple campaign. We looked at opt-in forms, web forms, and then we did the homework. If you need me, holler, help@techiementor.com. You can also use the private Facebook group. And I will see you in the next session. Thanks. Bye.